Most people think they're training their quads until they realize that their glutes are doing most of the work. If your legs never really look as defined as you want, or if your quads just aren't growing or popping as you want them to be, it may not necessarily always be your genetics, but it could also be your technique and your form. Your quads grow fast when you train them with precision, depth, and tension. So in this video, I'm going to break down 5 quad exercises that will actually add size, shape, and definition to your legs. For those who may not know, our quads have 4 muscles, but most people usually target about 1 or 2 of them. So your quads grow the fastest when you hit rectus femoris, which is hip and knee movement. Then the vastus lateralis, which is the outer quad sweep or the curve. Also the vastus medialis, which is the teardrop. And the vastus intermedius, which is the deep stabilizer. So the first exercise is a barbell box squat. And the reason why this exercise works is because using a box keeps your depth consistent and it forces you into a controlled knee flexion rather than dropping into your hips. When you push up from the box, the quads do more of the work because you eliminate the bounce at the bottom. And when you're doing this exercise, another way that you can really target your quads is if you do this exercise heel elevated. So you can place some small plates on the floor and just step on them, have your heel elevated, and then perform the exercise. And this puts a lot of tension and a lot of focus in your quads. Also, don't forget to keep your torso upright during this movement and just push your knees forward freely and drive through your midfoot to your toes. The rep range here for this exercise is about 6 to 10 reps at about 4 sets. The next exercise to really maximize your quad growth is the seated leg extension. So a seated leg extension grows your quads because it isolates them in a way that no other exercise really does. So when you extend your knee in the machine, your quads are really the only muscle doing the work here. The movement forces your quads to contract hard from a bent knee position where they're the weakest to a fully straightened position where they're the strongest. And this creates high tension on the quads throughout the whole rep and a strong peak contraction at the top, and also minimal assistance from other muscles. So your glutes and your hamstrings are not getting in the way during this exercise, and that constant targeted tension is why it grows the quads so well. Also, this exercise works all 4 quad muscles that I had listed before, but specifically it really hits the rectus formalis, the vastus lateralis. And people often underestimate using machines, but machines make hypertrophy so much easier because the range of motion is usually almost always controlled. So the rep range when doing this exercise is about 10 to 15 reps. And again, you want to aim to do about 4 sets, but of course, feel free to challenge yourself and do more sets if you need to. And when I'm doing this exercise, I always like to maintain like a 2 to 3 second squeeze at the bottom. The next exercise on my list is a step up or a single leg press. So this is a unilateral movement, and in most cases, a lot of people do a step up for their glutes, but step ups also targets your quads as well. And the reason why this exercise works is because unilateral work forces each quad to carry its own load. So there's no cheating, no shifting weight to your stronger side. And like I said, this is a unilateral knee dominant movement, meaning one leg does most of the work, and the movement is driven heavily by knee extension. And the reason why this exercise hits your quads so well is because the deeper the knee bend, then the more quad recruitment. When you step onto a high box, your knees go into a deep flexion, and coming out of that position requires your quads to strengthen the knee and push your body up. And also driving through the midfoot or forefoot increases quad bias. So if your torso stays upright during this movement and you drive up with your foot slightly forward on the box. So yes, step ups typically build the glutes, but if you keep an upright torso and if you use a higher box, then they can activate the quads as well. I personally like to do this exercise on a hack squat machine, and I do it in reverse to kind of mimic a front squat movement because facing the pad kind of forces your torso to stay upright, and an upright torso equals more knee flexion, which also equals more quad involvement. And if you're doing a single leg press, you want to keep your legs a bit lower on the platform. Have your knees slightly going over your toes and make sure that you are getting a full range of motion with that movement. So don't rush your movements, keep it slow and controlled. So the rep range for this exercise is about 10 to 12 reps at about 3 to 4 sets each. The next exercise on my list is the hack squat. This is a quad growing machine. And the reason why this exercise works is because the hack squat just locks your torso in place and removes your hips from the equation. And that means that your quads take the majority of the load through the entire rep. When it comes to your form during this movement, make sure that your feet is low on the platform. Keep your hips glued to the pad almost and push your knees forward. Okay, so don't round your back during this movement and don't lock out at the top. And the rep range for this exercise is about an 8 to 12 rep range. And again, 3 to 4 sets is the sweet spot. This is definitely going to make sure that you maximize this exercise and get the most out of the exercise so that you can see the results and the progress that you're looking for. And the final exercise on my list that is definitely going to activate your quads and get them growing fast is a heel elevated goblet squat. And the reason why this exercise works to grow the quads is because holding the weight in front forces your torso upright again, and elevating the heels shifts maximum tension straight into your quads. So this is perfect for that deep knee flexion and also learning how to sit into your quads. And the form keys here is you want to keep your heels high and let your knees travel far over your toes as well. Keep your elbows tight to your rib cage and stay upright and just sink low into that movement. As for this exercise, I always use dumbbells, and the rep range for this exercise is about 10 to 15 reps. Again, 3 to 4 sets. So my closing tip for this video, you do not need to train your quads every single day. Okay, you do have to make sure that you're getting proper rest and you're recovering properly. So you want to aim to train your quads about twice a week. So you want to have one heavy day and one volume day. The most important thing when you are training is to master your form and your technique. Remember, no ego lifting. It's not about how much you're able to lift, but how well you can do the exercise. So that is it for today's video. Let me know in my comments if you have any question, if these helped. And as usual, I will see you guys in my next video.